How's it going, everybody? My name is ScrubLorde, and today I have 4 different decks that you can use to play into the new hot location, the Altar of Death. Now, this first deck is a tweak on a deck I've already shown on my channel, and that's Death Rider. So we have Ghost Rider with Death. And in this deck, the only real changes we've done is swap out armor for Deadpool, so we can keep throwing Deadpool into that location, into the Altar of Death, to keep destroying it, getting extra energy, and bringing it back to our hand, gaining more and more power. The difference with this deck in the Altar of Death than we had before is you can get your death down to a lower cost than your Infinite really quickly. And with that, you will discard your Infinite with your Lady Sif. The cool thing about the Altar of Death with cards like Ghost Rider and or Jubilee is the Ghost Rider will die when you play it, but when it brings back the Infinite will stay in that location because it's not technically being played there. So we run it like a destruction deck, like the Death Rider deck as before, but we abuse the Altar of Death with our Hood and our Deadpool, our Yondu, and the rest of our destruction package. Use our Ghost Rider to bring back our Infinite at the Altar of Death to very surely win that location, and then have a very low cost death with America Chavez to throw down on another location. The next deck I have for you is a Patriot deck. I call it Altar Patriot because it's been tweaked a bit to work, of course, with the Altar of Death. We have Wasp, who is a no ability card that you can gain power with, or you can throw it down for free into the Altar of Death to gain extra power. And of course, we put Deadpool in it because Deadpool is just such a good card. Every deck in this showcase will have Deadpool in it. We have Nova, same reason, to die in the Altar of Death and give the rest of your cards power. Squirrel Girl as well, she puts down squirrels that have no abilities, and she can die in the Altar of Death. So you can gain a lot of energy with these 4 cards using this Patriot package, and the rest of it is just a simple no ability Patriot package with Blue Marvel at the top end. You could play Sarah instead of Blue Marvel to reduce the cost of the rest of your cards further, but again, I don't have Sarah, so if you want to throw Sarah into this deck, you definitely can replace Blue Marvel with Sarah. The next deck I have for you is a Silver Surfer deck. I have showcased this deck on my channel as well for the Altar of Death to counter it. The only change I made to it is I replaced Sabretooth with Wasp, because it was a little awkward playing Sabretooth into the Altar of Death and then the next turn playing Storm or Rhino into it. So instead we're using Wasp, so we can play Wasp in the Altar of Death first and then our Rhino or our Storm to get the benefit of the Altar of Death, get that extra 2 energy, and then seal it off from our opponent. And the rest of the deck is just a Silver Surfer deck, with Domino as a card you always draw on turn 2, so you always have a turn 2 play, so you can have a free power somewhere or play it into an early Altar of Death if you so wish. Again, we have Blue Marvel in this deck that can easily be replaced with Sarah if you have Sarah. So if you do, play Sarah instead of Blue Marvel. But other than that, this deck is really good at countering the Altar of Death, and it will be incredibly useful for you to play it for the next week to come in order to counter other people who are trying to abuse the Altar of Death. Also, I kind of lied. I said every deck will have Deadpool in it, but this one does not have Deadpool in it. But I mean, you could always throw Deadpool in it if you wanted to abuse the Altar of Death a little bit, but I find that you probably won't need it. But if you want to put it into the deck, you can maybe replace Kingpin. Honestly, I wouldn't. I'd leave it the way it is. Just replace Marvel with Sarah. And the last deck I have for you is a Taskmaster Death Destruction deck. It's very simple destruction deck. You can use this deck even without the Altar of Death, because it's just a strong destruction death Taskmaster deck. There has been a small change. We have added Deadpool because he is abusable in the Altar of Death instead of Mr. Sinister to gain a lot of power, and if your Deadpool gets really big, you can use him instead of Death to copy with your Taskmaster. Very strong plays that you can make in this. Of course, we do have Wave if we're not abusing the Altar of Death. If one of our games does not have it, we can always just do our typical Taskmaster Death play, throwing Wave down on 5, having Death cost 2 and Taskmaster cost 4, so you can have 2 12 power cards thrown down on the last turn. And there you have it. Those are 4 different decks that you can use with the Altar of Death. 3 that you can abuse it with, and 1 that you can counter it with if you're getting sick of the meta, the Altar of Death meta, everybody playing destruction decks and Deadpool, abusing it, you can counter it with that deck. If you enjoyed this video and you find these decks helpful, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel. Every little bit helps. I appreciate it greatly. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.